participants who has joined for the VCM on opportunity for CS in MSME, organized by the Committee on MSME and Startup, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. We have with us for today's session, we have with us today's resource person, CA Venkatesh Bhatt and CA Deepak Gupta. CA Venkatesh Bhatt completed his chartered accountancy in 1992. He is gold medalist in CA Inter and South India topper in CA final. He has attended excellent education courses in Wharton University, London Business School. He has worked in HUL, Whirlpool, GA, GE and held the Chief Finance Officer position in SET FiberNet. Later in BlackRock and held board position in group companies. He was recognized as one of the top 100 most influential CFOs in India in 2016 by CIMA. He is currently managing partner of Astravise Consulting, which offers CFO strategy and support services for startups and SMEs across India. He was an executive council member in the ISP Association of India and regular participation in DOT and TRI meeting. He was part of the task force set by the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting to oversee phase 3 and 4 digitalization in the country. He is a regular speaker in ICA platform and the conferences organized by the ICA. He has contributed articles in ICA publication. With this, we welcome to CA Venkatesh Bhatt.
Thank you.
And right now we have with us another faculty, CA Deepak Gupta. CA Deepak Gupta is the founding partner of Astravise LLP Finance Strategy and Execution Consulting, and he is right now instrumental in the startup advisory. He is an MBA in Indian School of Business, Hyderabad, chartered accountant, company secretary, and certified public accountant US with 10 years post-qualification experiences, and that one is 7.5 years in Big Four, E&Y, and Deloitte in assurance practice, and 3 years in Convergence Technology Private Limited, SET FiberNet, third largest ISP, a faster growing ISP with CAGR of 50%. And right now that one is he has been there in the finance head in Movies Inc., DGM Finance, Atria Convergence Technology Private Limited, manager Deloitte and E&Y, assistant manager, as well as that one is all other position. He is the regular speaker in the ICA platform in MSME sphere, and he is the regularly advising and strategize for the startups. With this, we welcome to CA Deepak Gupta and CA Venkatesh Bhatt. Right now, I am handing over the session to CA Deepak Gupta and CA Venkatesh Bhatt for further proceeding.
Thank you, Sabitji.
Thank you. Deepak, would you like to put up the presentation? Welcome to all the participants to this webinar. Last year, in 2021, the then president of ICAI sent a very important communication to the CA community. This is when boldly ICAI came out with an agenda of partnering with MSMEs to bolster them on global map. He also coined the phrase, CAs as swift responders to MSME needs. As part of this initiative, there is already existing committee for startups and MSMEs. Apart from that, 3 important steps were announced last year. One was ICAI MSME Exchange. Similarly, an ICAI MSME portal was launched where any MSME can raise their queries, and CA community, from CA community, chosen experienced practitioners will actually answer those questions. And a certificate course on MSME was also launched, which has as of now is right now in the 9th set of chartered accountants are going through the certificate course. So there is as you can see, there is a huge amount of focus from the institute on making chartered accountants a key player in supporting MSMEs in the economy currently. So today's webinar is actually part of that larger scheme of multiple activities that the institute is taking up. And we are very happy to note that Dr. Raj Chawla, who is our Vice President of Committee of MSMEs and Startups, is joining. Dr. Raj Chawla, if you can address the webinar and give us the institute's perspective regarding why we are conducting these kind of webinars, it will be really helpful for the webinar to start off.
Thank you, sir. Good evening to all. Dear professional colleagues, at the outset, I am happy to be part of this virtual CPE meeting on opportunity for chartered accountant in MSME, organized by the Committee of MSME and Startup of ICI. We are thankful to all the participants and resource person, CA Venkatesh Bhattji and CA Deepak Gupta ji, as for joining in this virtual CPE meeting. The MSME sector accounts for nearly half of India's total export. However, India's large trade deficit make it irrespective of the government to try framework to help companies in not just reducing reliance on import but also promoting export in a big way. As challenging circumstances due to COVID-19 trigger need for immediate action, government has found an answer in Atmanirbhar Bharat and undertaken retrospective measures towards further expansion of electronic activities with special emphasis on the MSME sector in order to combat the widespread reducement of massive unemployment and once again stimulate the growth cycle. MSME sector as the rock on which a self-reliant dream is built. The shift too can be led by such player amid support from various stakeholders. The need of the hour is to offer them a supporting arm in terms of policy and guidance. Chartered accountants can play a very important role as business solution provider. They are being trained in 3 years rigorous training to handle wide range of challenges and having hand-on experience. The practicing firm chartered accountant is spread into every part of the country, including B and C town. It can act as a pilot for trying out this area for comment MSME entrepreneur. We hope that your enactment of the knowledge in MSME sphere help you in your future endeavor. Thanks and best of luck for your future professional and personal endeavor. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So I'll continue the intro part of this webinar. Opportunities for CS in MSMEs is a topic that is very close to our heart. As earlier we were part of corporate setup. Now we are into management consulting, and we end up working with the many MSMEs, and we see these opportunities firsthand when we deal with MSMEs. The activity that CA can do and haven't done is primarily the reason why possibly the MSME is actually right now is in a state of distress in that particular case. Is the most of the time our observation. So without any further delay, let's get into the discussion. There are very interesting case studies that we are bringing in to make a point as to what are the kind of activities that CS can do. At an early stage itself, I would want to say that the opportunities that we are talking about is beyond accounting and taxation. We are not talking about mere completing the accounting activities and let's say preparation of the tax returns and filing. These are very important, I would say, fundamental foundational activities for any of the enterprises, and CS have contributed in this area over the past several decades. But time has come in where CAs need to step up and go beyond these traditional areas and identify how exactly MSMEs can do well. How can they grow? How can they respond to the environmental factors that are going to impact them severely if they don't take action at this point of time? How do they, first of all, even understand their own strengths and weaknesses? These are the points that we are going to discuss. This will be in a 2-hour session. Towards the end, we will have a Q&A session, but you can at any point of time add your questions to the chat session. We will address these questions appropriately either during our session or at the end of the session.
Thank you, Venkat. Just to build on the growth saga of Indian MSME. So what we are discussing is to understand how the MSME started and introduced in Indian economy. And at the same time, we will also see that how this metamorphosized version of MSME come into picture. The first word in relation to the MSME came into picture way back in 1950s when the term SSI was introduced, that is small scale industries. And at that time, it was coined with a view to give a lot of thrust to the industries which are more labor intensive. Over a period of time, a lot of new promulgation, new industries are introduced to be covered under SSI to show that to give a right thrust to SSI industry. And currently, as we speak, MSME is becoming a wave in itself, representing close to 6.3 crore of units, which are classified as MSME in India. And that is increasing, that number is increasing at a base of 18.5% CAGR, employing close to 11 crore people, that close to 25% of employable population in India. That is covering 6% of manufacturing GDP and 25% of the GDP from services. But unfortunately, out of 6.6 crore units, only 34 lakhs are registered under Udyam registration. That is basically recognized as a part of formal MSME units. There are many reasons why those MSMEs are not registered, but as a CA, as a moral responsibility for being a CA, it is very important for us to push those entities to be registered under Udyam registration. This will ensure that they will be eligible to get the benefits, whatever is given by the private and public sector and government bodies to MSME entities. So here we just briefly covered the contribution of the sales made by the MSMEs. You can see that close to 30% of overall India GDP is captured by MSME entities, and close to 50%, half of the exports is done by MSME entities. Recently, you must have heard about the joy in the voice of our Honorable Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman when she said that Indian export crosses $95 billion in this last 3 months. It is a momentous moment in a way that we will cross close to $350 to $400 billion in this year. And you can see what MSME can do, close to 50% if it is done by the MSMEs. So it's a huge contribution which is made. And it is more of a tip of, it is just a tip of the iceberg. Because if you see that in many of the large developed economy, the contribution of MSME is close to 50% to 55%. So there's a huge way, there's an open ground which MSME need to cover, and that's where the major role of CA will also come into picture. On the distribution of the entities among micro, small, and medium enterprises, you will see that close to 99.5% entities are still micro and small enterprises. Only 0.5% covers the medium enterprises. And all these small entities, definitely there is a bustling growth, but at the same time, they are nimble, but at the same time, they are vulnerable to shut down. And we have seen that in last year, 2.5 years, COVID was unkind to all the entities. And though there are support system existing, but still many of the companies do shut down because of the financial pressure and many other operational reasons. So now we will just briefly touch upon the incentives which are available to MSME.
Deepak, if I may add a point here.
Sure.
One of the important things I think we all need to realize is that when we talk about MSMEs, huge number of these MSMEs are micro enterprises. What is meant by micro enterprise? If you really think of a typical micro enterprise. It is run by one person, and it operates out of one shed in a, some corner of industrial area. If at all there is any even a manufacturing activity. Otherwise, it could be a trader or someone who is rendering some service. Every one of those small scale industries, every one of those someone who is actually rendering a technical service is a micro enterprise. So what is so good about this and what is so not so good about it? These micro enterprises are the ones who are anyway employing bulk of the 11 million numbers that you saw as an employment by the MSMEs. So a huge number of these our labor force is supported by micro enterprise in this country. This is the reason why there is so much of focus from the government on MSME sector, because any this sector is vibrant. This sector provides a lot of support to the running of the economy, but it is also very vulnerable. Any kind of larger economic events, and even sometimes calamities like COVID, all of these have the highest impact on the micro enterprise, because these are the ones who do not have the capability to withstand any kind of stress situations. They can only run only as long as everything is actually going fine. If there is a huge amount of recession coming into the country, the first impact will be on the micro enterprise. Any kind of situation like COVID, where the overall let's say situation on demand gets impacted, micro enterprise get impacted. Let's say the RBI tightens certain their monetary policy, and with that the supply of money gets reduced in the economy. One of the unintended consequence of any of those kind of activities will be tightening of the working capital situation across the economy. And mind you, the ones who get most affected are the micro enterprise ones. Because of this, so when we are talking about the opportunities in this sector, I would want you to think that a lot of these opportunities are at the bottommost part of the pyramid, which is the 97% of the population.
Right, my God. And if I see the incentives which are given by the government, so it is ensured that many of the benefits will go directly to the micro scale or micro enterprises. So there are specific benefits which I will cover in the next section and walk through that. What are the specific benefits available? And there are a bunch of benefits that are taken by the micro enterprises. So before moving into the incentives, let's see that who are these micro enterprises, what it comprises of. So gone are the days when only the investment in the company is the sole criteria for deciding that whether the company is a micro, small, or large enterprises. I can give you the example of say, consider a tech company, say Oyo or Uber. So you will see that Oyo is supposed to be the largest hotel chain in the world. So sorry, let me give you an example of Airbnb. Airbnb is the largest hotel chain in the world. Similarly, Oyo is the largest hotel chain in India, but it don't have any real estate. It don't owe any real estate. Everything is more on the marketplace basis. So you will see that there are investment is minimal, but turnover is very high. So are those enterprises or similar enterprises will get the benefit of MSMEs when there is the other sect of MSMEs that really need the support? So after great deliberation and a lot of discussions in the year 2020, turnover was also inserted as one of the criteria to decide that whether the enterprises will be considered as a MSME or not. And this both investment and annual turnover, both are taken care of, both are considered for deciding this. For example, in case of the macro scale enterprises, the limit is less than 1 CR of investment and less than 5 CR of annual turnover. In case of small, it is less than 10 CR and less than 50 CR. In case of medium enterprises, it is less than 50 CR of investment and less than 250 CR of annual turnover. Please note that in calculating this turnover, export is not considered. So in this way, government tried and make a push to give enlarge the base of MSME and see that how the best benefit can go to the larger number of population. This is an interesting slide wherein we try to capture some of the applications available to the corporates, to the MSME corporates, and at the same time all the MSME entities, and who can take the benefit of these application. And these are on the go application where MSME can take the benefit. For example, my MSME is the database data bank wherein all the details of about MSME is captured. So anyone want to have a greater detail about MSME, they can go there and see that what are the benefits available, what are the data points, and can take the details. Udyam registration is another application with one-pager application through which registration can be done easily. And at the same time, once the registration is done, within a week, MSME certification do come. And in that case, MSME can be registered. MSME Sampark is again, it's another application, which is it's a portal wherein job seekers can post their CVs, and MSMEs can connect with those job seekers, and it acts as a Naukri and Monsters for MSMEs, and they can hire at a least cost. There's another interesting application launched by the Government of India, that is MSME Sambandh, and it is launched for the effective application of the public procurement policy. As per the Government of India regulation, 25% of the procurement made by the ministry needs to be done through a GEM portal and through MSME for the MSME companies. And this is regulated by the government through this MSME Sambandh, and definitely through MSME can use it to increase their sales. There's another portal which I'm sure it will be interesting to see is MSME Samadhan. So MSME Samadhan, it is a portal that gives information about the pending payments with any of the central ministries, any of the issues which any of the MSMEs facing in providing support, goods or services to the ministry. Also, this portal will also be helpful to the companies if they want to take any arbitration support. There's an interesting platform, TREADS platform. I'm not sure how many of you heard about it. It's an electronic platform for facilitating the financing and discounting of trade receivable for micro, small, and medium enterprises. And what happens basically in this platform is that any MSMEs who has a requirement, they place their requirement, and the company to which they are supplying the materials, they are also need to be listed in TREADS platform. And on top of it, all the financial institutions are also there, and they bid for providing the financial assistance to the MSMEs. So on the basis of the preferred rate, the transaction happens, and all this is done on the credit rating of the company, of the large enterprises which are taking the goods or providing the services. So in this way, a financing assistance is also provided to the MSME entities. There are certain recent initiatives in last 3 to 4 years, which are launched by the government, and it's worth mentioning the initiatives in terms of direct benefit transfer in case of any benefit which are which MSMEs are eligible for. Digital payment and governance, grievance monitoring. Grievance monitoring is through Sambandh portal. Technology Center System Program. It is a tool wherein a lot of free APIs are available for the MSMEs, which they can use for the certain automation. In case they need advice, there are some ID tools available. At the same time, they can take advice from the experts as well. Their national scheduled caste and scheduled tribe hub is made, and it is over and above the Khadi and Khadi Gramodyog and Coer board. So this also helps in taking up the request and making sure that any of the SMEs are getting the right benefit on time. On the larger framework side, you will see on your screen that there are different nodal agencies in Startup India and GOK, the Directorate for MSMEs, which provides specific services in their categories, in their sectors. For financing, there are different set of enterprises and the financing is done through the CPE, NABARD, and there are certain priority sectors given by the commercial banks and private banks. So in order to go through each of the framework and at the same time, what kind of benefits are available, definitely you need to go through each of the nodal agencies and institutions website and see that what are the currently, what are the incentives available to MSMEs at that point of time. Those incentives changes as per the sector and as per the time frame. And it is also statewide as per the state as well. In order to boost startup culture of late in last 5 years, there are multiple incentives and programs launched by the central government and state government. There are state-run incubators and accelerators. You will find it in many of the states. For example, in Karnataka, there is a K-Hub. In Tamil Nadu, there is a T-Hub. And all those agencies help out the startups of their states, and the benefits comes through multiple directions. It's starting from the direct equity participation, providing them mentorship, at the same time providing them space to run their operation. There are in some of the cases, like I have seen in Bangalore, wherein there's a deep tech startups which are financed by the K-Hub, and the initial support is completely funded by the government. There are networking events which are organized by the state and central government. That is also of great use, and marketing assistance scheme provided by the central and state government. So all these things are provided on quite frequent basis. Only thing is that as a MSME, they need to be aware of, and as a CA, as a chartered accountant who are becoming a backbone of the economy, we need to make sure that our clients, the MSME sectors, knows about it, and we need to educate them as and when required. On the special benefit on the credit and finances, the TREADS platform I covered earlier, which provides the discounting end of trade receivables and suppliers credit. On the priority sector status, which is given to certain specific industries on a particular locations statewide to the commercial bank, and the loans are given to those sectors on a preferred basis at a discounted rate. As per the MSME Act, all the payments which are due to the micro, small, and medium enterprises that needs to be paid within 45 days, or the interest or the company which is taking the goods or services, they need to pay certain interest. And in case it is not paid, it needs to be shown in the financial statement. So this is again a part of it, but even if it is an indirect pressure, it helps the MSMEs to manage their working capital better. On the collateral-free loan on credit guarantee trust fund is created. There are fund of funds also created by the state governments to provide the financial assistance. And there are specific measures taken by the RBI during COVID. We have seen that there are multiple press conferences done by our Honorable Finance Minister to announce various benefits available to the corporates and specifically to the MSME. It was an unfortunate statistics that close to 50% of the MSMEs are facing the closure because of the financial crunch. And there are multiple reasons, but definitely there are certain things can be done, like getting the right benefit if it is available to them, and taking the right advice from their CAs. And it's our prerogative to reach out to them and help them out in whichever way possible. So on the financial assistance side, multiple benefits which are provided in last 2 years, specifically during COVID, was emergency credit line guarantee schemes and safe schemes by SIDBI. I know multiple organizations who took the benefit. Then again, the top-up loan was also provided to the various MSMEs, where many of the companies took the benefit. If their loan was say 1 CR, 2 CR, they can take additional loan limit of 20% to 30%. And in some of the cases, it is still applicable in some of the states. So only thing is that MSMEs need to reach out to the SIDBI or NABARD or the nationalized bank from where this facility was there. On Atmanirbhar Bharat initiatives, there are multiple schemes which was launched. So now I doubt any of the schemes are available, but definitely, these are the benefits which was given during the COVID period. There are certain other measures. Fund of fund was created by the government of India, and from the World Bank side and from the different international agency side also, there are certain benefits available to handicraft and gram udyog in the small scale industries. Here are just we populated some of the list of schemes. We are in the interest of time, we will not go through it in detail. But point is that here you can see that there are a bunch of schemes available. Only thing is that you need to understand the nature of business which the company is, in which geography it is, whether they are a MSME or not. Very important thing is that they need to register themselves as a MSME, and then you need to see that the benefit available and match it.
Okay.
So over to you, Venkat.
Yeah. In the last 20 minutes of discussion, you would have seen, so many different schemes that are being offered to the to MSMEs by different agencies of government, as well as, including World Bank. There are so many others who are trying to help out. I just want you to step back and, think of a CA, say 2-3 decades back. A typical CA, and if you are helping MSME, the biggest thought was that, okay, if an MSME is requiring some kind of financial help, then he will come to a CA. And what is the financial help? Figure out, which department is giving what subsidy. I mean, the assistance from the professional side was, by and large, I can't really say it's all CAs were like that, but by and large, were restricted to we figuring out as a CA professionals what are the kind of subsidies that could be taken out for the MSMEs. Is there anything wrong in that? I won't say anything is wrong, because definitely subsidy is one of an important element for an MSME, and most of the MSMEs face financial crunch in one way or the other. Okay, but I think the bigger issue there is, if you really understand why first of all in the MSMEs are in that kind of financial challenges, and how those challenges need to be first of all addressed, then the question comes, how exactly, what are the kind of subsidies and other benefits that could be given. Now, if you go into a deeper analysis of the challenges that an MSME faces, then only you are able to understand the last 20 minutes what Mr. Deepak Gupta offered as different schemes. Those schemes are not only addressing the financial needs of the MSME, they are addressing the larger requirements of MSMEs, including finance. They address the issues of, for example, how MSMEs, when they deal with the larger companies, are at risk. So you have MSME Samadhan. They address the issue of how MSMEs do not have technical and management expertise. So that's where the those kind of networking opportunities, incubation opportunities, all of them are in place. So I think the whole focus of when the CA, we are saying the CAs are the swift responders to MSMEs. What we are saying is that as a community, CAs also move out of thinking only about subsidies and thinking of a larger picture of what are the things that are challenges at an MSME management level. And once you understand that larger picture, then stepping out and saying, as a chartered accountant, as a professional, these are the few things that could be I can offer to the MSME, and working with the management to actually to in all those areas they require help. It's not that you just get money and then they will run the setup. In many cases, many of us will admit this also, that if an MSME is in a difficult situation, and if they are going out for these benefits, they are not even in a position to reach out to anywhere. Because why? Because their books are not maintained well. Books do not reflect the real business picture. Books are maintained only to only for tax or account this one purpose, not really for running the enterprise. However, those days where you can run the business from the head of the MSME owner are long gone. If your business is so simple that you can run it from using your own head, trust me that your business is ready for disruption. The next door, your neighbor will launch a company, and in 6 months your business can be actually be overtaken by that company, if your business does not have those kind of complexities. So first of all, I would say, as CS, if you're saying we are seeking for opportunities in MSMEs, we need to first of all help them to set their books right, become eligible to participate in this entire scheme of multiple opportunities that are coming to them. The world has moved on, and we are also going to cover some bit of digital mindset as part of our part of the session. Digital mindset is needed both for CA as well as for the MSME founder. If you are not thinking digitally, if you are not becoming part of the digital network going forward, trust me, those people those whoever it could be businessman or it could be professional, they are not going to be the influential part of the society. They are increasingly they are going to become one fringe part which will remain at the edge, and they are not able to predict or really make things happen in the center place. You need to have that digital thrust, and digital thrust first of all will come by keeping your records properly, understanding what the business is doing based on proper records and information, and moving the management into a scenario where you are taking decisions based on data. I know I'm what I'm saying for many CS it looks uphill task. How do I really convince the MSME owner to do these right things? That is where the challenges lie. Opportunities don't come alone, our friends. Along with the opportunity, there will be challenge. If you are able to address this challenge, then the opportunities in terms of really helping an MSME to scale is at your doorstep. Okay, now let us go to the this part of how CS are the swift responders, how they can be assisting MSMEs. This is part of this information is already covered actually. 30% of GDP is coming from MSMEs. Significant exports percentage, close to 50% comes from exports. And there is a huge number of 6.3 crore kind of enterprises are in this space of MSMEs. So that basically what does it mean? It means these are such a large part of the economy. Not only government, in fact, all the institutions in the country, in order to help the economy to grow, need to focus on MSME, and that is where the ICA's thrust also is coming up. But you also look at the right side. MSMEs face huge challenges. During COVID, who you think got most impacted? Which is a type of enterprises got close to most? Micro, and then small. It's not the big companies that got closed. You would have seen few in economic times headings of companies that got closed because of COVID at a large scale. But for everyone that you have seen there, hundreds more got closed without any news anywhere. And these are all MSMEs. And there is a government data available to say how many MSMEs actually got closed off. Impact of COVID I covered already. And even without COVID, they are facing huge challenges. And what is happening is that, unlike say a few decades back, environment in which the MSME is operating has become very dynamic. It is so dynamic that a single owner who has been managing these businesses in the past and is able to manage his internal processes, which is procurement of material, manufacturing process, distribution, ensuring collections happen, looking at the growth of the company. At the same time, external factors such as what's happening on the competition, what is happening on the new products, all of these, one person was able to manage. In this scenario, this is going to become increasingly difficult for a small enterprise to manage all of this, in a way where they are able to withstand the impact of environment. So this sector is right now at crossroads. Either they are able to sustain what they have been doing in the economy and really grow to the next level, which is what all of us want MSMEs to do, or a lot of them can actually wither away. And this is what we are going to cover in the subsequent slides in terms of how exactly this process is likely to play out. We have tried to create some kind of sequence of events that happen from the birth of birth of MSME to the flourishing or death of an MSME. We'll cover this in subsequent slides. Is a SWOT analysis is a very common management tool that are deployed in multiple business situations. So we have tried to apply this framework to the MSME sector as a whole. I would always encourage my CA friends to apply this even to an individual client and try to look at the totality of his business situation before giving him any kind of an advice. Trust me, it will attract a lot of respect from the MSME, because a chartered accountant is looking beyond the numbers and the tax part and into the larger way of how the operations are being run, and hence his advice is going to be a lot more fundamentally altering the situation of the enterprise. So what are the strengths of this sector? India has a huge number of entrepreneurs, and entrepreneur skill set is very, very prevalent, whether it is a metro or whether it is a small village setting. You have enough and more number of people who, because of circumstances or because of their mindset, are entrepreneurs. So it is not that there is a lack of entrepreneurial culture in the country. Honestly, I would say it is more of a metro, and that also in the second, third generations, where people prefer to go into a job today and seek the securities that are associated with the corporate job and the corporate kind of a comfort that comes with the job. But large part of the economy is still depending on they themselves running one or the other businesses or professions, and that is where the significant part of our micro enterprise are coming from. There is a deep technical industrial expertise. So in order to run such 50% of the contribution experts coming from this sector can tell you that it is not being run like a with some basic technology. The technologies that MSMEs deploy are good enough for an export market. That basically means the sector has been able to so far bring in some amount of an upgrade, keep themselves relevant to what's happening in the external world. So why is it happening? It's because I think as a country has a good amount of diploma, technology expertise, and habit of generation passing on this expertise from to the next generation. So this totality of this situation has led to a good for this sector, where there is enough expertise availability in the country. Fifth, adaptability and flexibility. The advantage of a small enterprise is that they can actually quickly change. They don't have the bureaucracy or the large organizational policies and setups that corporations have to manage to bring in any change. In large corporations, change management is a topic by itself and many times a function by itself. In these cases, smaller companies, once they understand the need for change, once they have the right resources for change, changing is very fast. Now, changes can be in the way they run the operation, changes can be in the product they offer to the customers, changes could be in the markets they are operating. In whichever way, they can actually adopt and become quickly be flexible to make the necessary changes. Cost efficiencies are natural to a MSME because they do not have a lot of overheads. Most of that benefit is actually passed on to the customer. It's not that all those benefits are actually retained and it generates the profits for the MSME. That is the unfortunate part. It is actually passed on to the customer, but those cost advantages exist in an MSME. Bespoke products. Most of the products in MSME sector are not completely commoditized. Even if it is something called something like somebody is making a metallic product, even there you will see that even at a small enterprise, there is enough customization to meet a particular customer's demand. Though they have a manufacturing process, though there is some amount of standardization, this making as per the customer requirements is something that is very intrinsic to MSME sector. They are feeders to large industry players, and hence existence of these MSMEs is very, very critical to the sector as economy as a whole. Then they are also poised to use unskilled labor force. Vis-a-vis larger companies, MSMEs are better placed to use this unskilled labor force because they have the ability to quickly train them to the extent needed for the specific task and start using them, and they are also accessible to unskilled labor. These MSMEs are also spread across the country. So at an economy level, the unemployment that is getting caused due to lack of education facility and the resultant factors are to a large extent mitigated by the MSME sector's prevalence in a large parts of the country. And they are also better placed to implement digital transformations. Why? It is because digital transformation will require not only your ability to change fast, it also will require a complete understanding of the organization. So in many companies, digital transformation process fails because somebody comes and wants to change only one function. they want to only change marketing, or they only want to change HR. But digitization, only one part of the organization, doesn't really work well in many cases. In an MSME case, what happens is that the digital transformation can be attempted across the organization one shot, and hence it is better, they are in a better place to actually to implement these transformations. These are the strengths of the MSMEs. Let us now look at the weaknesses of the MSMEs, which are all too familiar. So many of them I am not going to spend a lot of time. Access to capital is definitely a challenge. Despite our commercial banking growing across the years, and emergence of newer sectors like NBFCs and all in the country, still the average MSME micro enterprise guy cannot even enter a bank, and his lot of the time his access to capital is restricted to the local money lender, and that leads to huge amount of cost structures and low financial strength over a period of time. The idea may be good, everything else is there, but there is no capital. Hence, the business doesn't grow. And this story is all too familiar for many of us who are dealing with the MSMEs. Innovation as a strategy for competitive edge. Their innovation is in today's world very important because the product cycles are getting reduced. What is product cycle? Is the time when an idea is born, which could be converted into a new product. If you start from that point till the point where the product has become commodity and the demand for the product coming down, quarter after quarter, is a situation where the product is in decline. This is called product cycle. In the past, these product cycles could be as 3 years, 4 years, and in some of those complex products, it could be even be many years, which meant that you don't need to be very innovative to survive. You could have copied somebody else and survived. Wait for the trend to emerge, to then identify and then implement it. You could have survived. But today the market is for the guys who are adopting fast. Either you are the first one, then you are able to build a size. Otherwise, if you are the third, fourth one, nobody wants your products, or you are not able to command the kind of premium, and hence you are not able to survive in the market. So innovation is very critical as a strategy for competitive edge, and this is lacking in the MSMEs. New age manufacturing capabilities require technical expertise as well as capital. Both of them are lacking in MSMEs. Access to technology and technology adoption. Today, technology adoption comes with the multiple newer ways of doing things. It is not simply about finding the latest engineer who has graduated from the institute and really bringing him in. You need to understand what's happening in your industry, in your competing and very similar replaceable products. Know all the technological development that are happening, and then you should be able to figure out what is required to be done at your business. And this is the acquiring these knowledges, keeping your information flow into the organization open. It is the first thing that has to happen. Then the question comes, how do you really adopt this technology? Because understanding technology is one thing, adopting is another. It requires again technical skill, which may need experts to come from outside. That requires that requires cost, that requires budgets, and it may not be there with the MSME. Access to skilled labor and managerial talent. It's not a secret that younger generation does not want to go and join an MSME if they can join a larger company. Which today the younger generation wants to join branded companies. They want to join where there is more of a job security, and where they see the company doing innovative things and being ahead of the market, especially talented youth. So if you don't attract the talented youth and you fill your organization with the very average kind of people, what is the probability that you will be actually a market leader and you will be able to do things in the market? Very unlikely, because you need talent to run the company, and the talent does not come to MSME easily compared to a larger corporate, and that's the weakness of the MSME. Brand development. Many MSMEs don't think it is a brand development. And later point of time, when actually their brand name could have actually helped them in the time of crisis, that is when they realize the requirement of a brand development, but then it will be too late. They need to do it from the time they start. And resistant to change and risk-averse attitude. Many MSMEs, when we interact, we realize we have tried this, it has failed in the past. So they are all disillusioned with their past failed attempts, and they are very resistant to change. And they also don't want to take risk because they believe one bird in hand is better than two in the bush. It may be good as a conservative approach, conservatism is a good idea when it comes to our accounting practices, but conservative is not really a great approach when it comes to really expanding your business and really competing in the market today. You should be ready to take risks, which MSMEs by years of their past experience, they are actually not suited to take risks. Now opportunities and threats are the environmental factors which are impacting MSMEs. There are huge opportunities. The local market itself for India is supposed to grow year after year, and there are enough advantages that are associated with the market as diverse and large as India. Recently, the Economist published an article where they have projected and predicted that India will continue to be the country economy with the highest growth of GDP for many years, not only 20 to 23, but many years for multiple global as well as India specific factors. And this means even if you are able to produce a product which is reasonably acceptable in the market, the general buoyancy of the market and expansion of the market will take you further. And that is a great advantage not available to every other economy or MSME in other countries. There is a national market today. You could be sitting in one corner of one village, but if you are able to figure out the logistics capability, and today there are enough opportunities for that, you can actually cater to a national market. You can even look into export market, and India has its own name in terms of export markets in different products in different countries. With Make in India thrust and import substitution coming in, there will be certain amount of subsidies coming in. There will be certain import duty and tariffs that will actually be helping you to compete with the countries with the lesser cost of production. And then e-commerce platforms really help you to take your product without building a distribution yourself. Apart from this, there are opportunities through the government schemes to participate in international trade fairs and to really explore markets outside. These are the opportunities that are available to MSMEs. Same time, there are threats that are today are very real and quite challenging ones, which I would say are which would not have been faced by MSMEs of the yesteryears.
Venkat, here I like to mention one thing. What India faced in 1991 in de-licensing regime under Dr. Manmohan Singh. So similar thing we are seeing after 30 years, like when we are hearing the term Make in India, global for local. So there's so much of boost from the government side in order to boost the manufacturing and service sector in India. And along with that, with the color of all the finance assistance, on top of it, when I will put a color of all the startup fintech companies who are providing various fintech solutions to the real life challenges of the companies. So there it's just like a small thrust will definitely make the MSME fly with a greater height.
Okay. Coming to the threats, I already referred to the product cycle. Ever reducing product cycle means any enterprise, whether you are a micro or small, medium, even large and very large, they need to be ready with the possibility that what they are today selling and what is constituting their say 70-80% of their revenue coming from specific product lines, those are going to be obsolete, and they need to figure out new products that are going to replace them. How does the companies do this? They first of all, they need to have a R&D, research and development wing. They need to continuously have teams that are experimenting out of the products that have come into R&D in the marketing experiments and figuring out what products are going to be acceptable to customers and what are they not going to be accepting. Put in many times these new products may not even be manufacturable in your existing facilities. You may need to put in extra capital. You may need to bring in new teams who need to work on these these products. Sometimes these products also may require processes which are unheard of in the past. They may require a very high level of quality because, for example, you remember during the COVID times, specific medicines could be manufactured under extreme care and the temperature controlled environment. So there needed to be a cold chain to carry those kind of products. So there is an opportunity, but then the organization which is trying to do it may never have had that experience of running those kind of processes. So ever reducing product cycle means that You not only look at your business as today, you look at the business that is likely to happen in tomorrow and get ready in terms of capital, in terms of teams, in terms of processes, in terms of machinery and technical capabilities, all of this. Now think of an MSME. Where are these capabilities? If you look at any of the MSME management, beyond the founder and probably his brother or son, there is nobody else. The next level are all people who are very average in capabilities and who have come up the ladder by executing what the management has asked them to do. So there is absolutely, there is no team capability. There is no capital, because whatever capital has come out of it have not even got invested. Many of them have gone and invested this money in the real estate or in something else, or spent on social events. And so when there is a need of a capital, that capital has not been preserved and really reserved for a situation like this. Technology and innovation is a huge threat, because the technology is becoming deeper and technology is changing quite fast. It will require many cases approaches like what a VC today takes. So you should be ready to go and put in money without being 100% sure that that product is going to succeed or not. That requires a lot of capital, accessibility, and management capability by which possibly other investors are ready to trust this management and put in money. Without that, this is not going to happen. There is no microcredit available, despite the emergence of newer and newer opportunities. Now that itself is an opportunity for a different sector called fintech companies. Having said this, for the large, the size of MSMEs that we carry today, for many of them, the reality is that there is no microcredit. What is microcredit? It could be 50,000 to a lakh of a rupee being available to them for managing their working capital. Or it could be a very simple thing like, because of COVID situation, their collections are stuck, their customers are not paying. They need to survive for a month so that they can produce, still sell, and ensure that the collections come in. Even to intervene at this level, at such a small level, there are no ready-made institutional help available. If government came up with very specific COVID-related specific benefits, but tell me, how many of our MSMEs you think really got benefited? Not many. But why? Not many of us know. But why? Because they have hid under the table when they had to be registered as an MSME in the first place. Now, when a government announces a scheme, what will they do? They will go into what is available with them as a data, right? They will look at who is registered today. You are not even registered, then you can't really sit and cry saying that I am not getting any benefit. Who asked you not to register? Now, many people, many of the CS come back and ask us, what is the benefit of registering? I will ask this question back to them. What is the benefit of having an Aadhaar card? Why are you having Aadhaar card? The answer is very similar actually. You don't take Aadhaar card for a very specific benefit. You take Aadhaar card because without Aadhaar card, you are not even a digitally recognized citizen of this country. A very similar approach has to be there. They should be, first of all, be participating in the registration process. They should be available. Once you become available, once you become visible, obviously all the schemes benefits can come to your benefit. Raising global competitiveness. So the opportunity that are available to Indian MSMEs to go out is also available to other countries, businessmen. They can also come to India. That's the whole idea of globalization, which means you need to be ready for global competition. Increased competition, cheaper imports impacted many sectors, because as we opened up and we need other countries to open up their trade barriers, we also need to reduce the trade barriers. Over a period of time, it has been done, I must say, to the credit of the government with a lot of thought process. I don't think they have done it mindlessly, but even then, over a period of time, you look at 10-15 years, many of these tariff barriers have gone down, which means imports became cheaper. Now, during this period, if you are not really built your capabilities to be ready for the competition, obviously the MSME got impacted. And monopolistic tendencies of the large companies also is a threat to the MSME. Okay, next. This is an important slide. It takes a bit of explanation. If you look at this picture, there is a left hand where there are very broad, very thick arrows which connects an MSME to 4 or 5, I would say, network points in the immediate vicinity of that particular MSME. Suppose you are an MSME operating in a small village, Kishorpur. Now, in that village, in that place when you are operating, the nearest town local bank is your source of all financial information. The accountant who is the taking your books, maybe he's writing once in a year, if at all he writes, is the only accountant who is available to you for giving any kind of information and knowledge. Fellow entrepreneurs who could be as uninformed businessmen as yourself are your fellow entrepreneurs from whom you get knowledge of what is happening in the competition. And then friends and relatives are the other source where you could be getting some tidbits of information. Today's world is not consisting of this. Maybe this would have worked 2-3 decades back. Today, the ones which are dotted lines, these are the contacts that MSME has to develop in order to really succeed. And the role of a CA comes in, first of all, educating the MSME, understanding how an MSME is today operating, and advising him, helping him to really build all this network around the MSME for him to succeed. What are these? First of all, there are MSME forums you need to be part of. Because the mere fact that you are becoming part of the forum itself you will start receiving a lot of information and participation in different trade and other activities will start increasing your knowledge and understanding of what's happening in the external world. There is a government funding available. Obviously, first of all, you need to register yourself for that. But it is not only registration. It is if your accountant has really created some mess in terms of accounting over years, and trust me, there is enough mess created by a lot of accountants in the MSME world, creating a lot of work for the other CS to actually to take up and clean it up. Problem of that approach is that because your books are absolutely not reflecting of what you do. So with that books or with that financial statements, you go to a government funding, you may not even be eligible for that because the conditions you may be actually be meeting in terms of your real business financial situation, but your financials are not showing that. Business and finance consultants, do you have the right approach, the right consultants? When I say you, I am referring to an MSME owner. He should have the right consultant, and I am not only referring to CS. I am also talking about other experts. For example, it could be tax expert, or it could be somebody who is giving somebody who can actually help in terms of financial specific financial assistance in a particular sector. Today, there are specialists who have developed in all these areas. They could be CAs or they may not be CAs. But all these contacts the MSME needs to develop. And the reason why we say that it is an opportunity for CAs is that beyond the immediate family round of many of the businessmen, the first person and the only person they trust is their chartered accountant. And hence any advice going from the chartered accountant in terms of changing their mindset in this. If anybody can change, it is the chartered accountant who can change. Is our belief. So they may require some people to help them to digitally transform themselves. There are industrial support groups who could be they can actually tap into. Then there are Startup India initiatives. There are trade fairs. There are MSME schemes. Why they are long contacts? They are not as easily accessible as the short contacts. There is a lot of work to be done. It is not that you will click a button and all these long contacts become operational. There's going to be time and effort and energy involved in terms of really making this work. But that's the only way for an MSME survival in the long run.
Thank you, Venkat, for giving the detailed analysis, SWOT analysis for MSME. So what we do in next 15 minutes is we go through the life cycle of a typical MSME and understand that how it is growing and changing over a period of time. And at the same time, by taking right decision or not so right decision, what would be the impact? As you can see in your screen that there is a seed sowed in the ground. Over a period, in the upper part of the picture, you will see the pre-grown both flowers, but then at the end, it turns into a dead log. And on the other side, in the picture below, you will see the seed grown into a tree which bore flowers and then fruits eventually. Why anyone is sowing the seeds? To reap the benefit of flowers and fruits. And similarly, if anyone is starting any of the enterprises, the ultimately aim is to get the fruits and flowers and reap the benefit of it. Now, when you see each and every slide in next 7 to 8 slides, I'm sure it will be a deja vu feeling where you will believe that something you experienced it before in some or other clients or in some or other situation. So let's start the journey of one MSME. When it just started, the idea is conceived in the mind of an entrepreneur, and he thought of starting a business. What that person will do, he will have a business idea, he will put it into his manufacturing methodology, contact his suppliers and customers, whatever, like his connects are, from where he can buy the materials and sell it, and take some minimal amount of capital, whatever he has, through bootstrapping, or he will take the money from friends, families, or the third category, which is fools, friends, family, fool, who normally invest in the very new ventures. So in this particular stage, what would be the effective business strategy? And on the right-hand side of your screen, you will see we have mentioned some of the effective business strategy. And it is not only the founders who will think about as a CA, if we are providing them the services, this will also be a responsibility of ours as well. So the first part is how to assess the capital requirement and making sure that capital is sourced and deployed appropriately. During our CA exams, we read about short-term and long-term funds. We know that short-term funds cannot be used for long-term and vice versa. There are small and medium sector enterprises we have seen in our stint that some of the companies who are having a profit of say 20% or 25%, they out of their pool fund, they just invested in land, which is non-productive asset, and it is not yielding any result as such. So basically, it's deployment of the short-term fund in the long-term needs, and ultimately company faces problems. Taking investment decision on buying something or renting out something. In most of the cases, like in India, we have seen that any of the entrepreneur want to own their home. At the same time, when they start their business, they want to own their factory or office as well. Why? So as a consultant, definitely we can guide that what's the benefit. There may be certain benefit in some of the cases, but in all the cases, answer can be different. What would be the right go-to-market strategy for the company? Whether it is needs to capture the local market or international market, whether the studies has been done or the decisions are taken impromptu on the basis of whims and fancies without any data. Skilled manpower, that is, as Venkat mentioned it before, attracting a skilled manpower is one of the toughest challenge for MSMEs. But when I'm saying manpower, why it is only on-roll manpower? There can be off-roll manpower consultants are available who are equally skilled. So it's more of a buy, borrow, or take leverage of the skills which are available in the market. Navigate through legal and regulatory compliances. We have seen that in many cases, the startup funding failed because the legal part is not very clear. In the due diligence for some of the startups, when they go out for raise the angel fund or seed fund, it get failed, means they're not able to clear their due diligence process because the regulatory and compliance part is not taken care of, not considered appropriately by the founders. Then availing schemes and benefit. Here, one thing I want to repeat that companies should not, the MSME should not start the business with the thought of availing the schemes and benefit. There will definitely be a one part wherein they can leverage and get thrust out of those schemes and benefit. So definitely when you are guiding to your clients, make sure that there is a hardcore business model which can be supported by schemes and benefit, but schemes and benefit are not the only reason for starting a business. Gone are the days 40 years, 50 years back when some of the businesses are started with that point of view. Like if you see the sugar mills or many of the urea factories which are created just to take the benefit from the government, what it is providing. But that is not true nowadays. Now, what will happen when a company grow to the next level? Now the seed stage is done. Now company is expanding. So what kind of challenges? On the left-hand side of the screen, you will see that some of the challenges that we mentioned. If you talk to any of the founders of the company, the biggest challenge, they will say that they don't have money to run business. How to get the money? That will always be the first question. And as far as the funding business part is concerned, It's a kind of question that for what purpose they need the fund. Is it for working capital or for the long-term fixed investment? For what reason? And the answers are not straightforward. But the business and why it happened, why they are in a deep fund crunch problem, is that the business growth, whatever they foresee, it is not articulated properly. It was somewhere in one corner of the head of the founder. The entire team don't know about it. The marketing and sales teams are not going in conjunction. Manufacturing is happening not in line with what the sales demand is. And actually, this is one of the experience we have seen in manufacturing setup in a tier 3 city in southern India, that the products are manufactured without keeping in view that what the sales will be next 3 months or 6 months. And when we asked this question to the founder responded that since they have an available free capacity of the unskilled laborers, they are utilizing it to make more product and keeping it in the factory. Just think of it, like how much is the cost of their labor? It is not more than 10% of the total product value. So it means that 90% is further spent to utilize that 10% of the labor. And it's not the case that the founder is not smart enough, but maybe the founders may have a different focus area. So if we give the right numbers in a proper manner to the founder, definitely he will understand and course correct. Credit worthiness and market reputation, it is not built from beginning. So basically, what's happening that whatever the products are coming up without quality check, it is going to the customers. And at the same time, when the sales returns are there, the company will not get the money on time. And in case some loan is taken, it is not paid on time. How many cases I'm sure you will be able to correlate to some cases in your work-life experience that the final net profit, the year-end profit of the company is calculated on the basis of the tax that company need to pay to the government. So there are cases, but point is that we need to guide the company adequately and appropriately, and making sure that in case such request comes, we need to respond that instead of seeing the short-term gains, definitely company need to look into the long-term benefit. And so like whatever the required dues are there in terms of the bankers or taxes, all those things are calculated properly. And then, like slowly and gradually build on the credit worthiness, build on the credit report. Like like for any of the any of the individual person's CIBIL report is available. Similarly, for the companies also, the score is given by the banker. In case the companies are defaulting on their loans, the companies are defaulting or restructuring their loan very frequently. In that case, the name is captured in the national registry, which is available to all the bankers, and their credit line will be skewed. Repeatedly failing to grab the market opportunities and profitability, that largely come through the shortcut methods. In some of the cases, in our experience, we have seen that the company do have a quality control manager, but over the year, that the person not rejected a single consignment. And on the other hand, there are a bunch of sales return, around close to 20 to 25% is the sales return. So basically, quality control is not in place. And that's the reason that a company will repeatedly fail to capture the right market share. And though the company has a huge potential to earn a larger bottom line, but there are inefficiencies across the processes, and that lead to low margin despite the best of the effort. So all these things definitely push the promoters to take some short calls, and at the same time it will hurt the business in a long-term point of view. And what are the effective business strategies, which definitely a CA can help out, is making the business plan. And at the same time, it's not about the short-term, medium-term, and long-term plan. CAs also need to show the opportunity or the best case and the worst case scenario. The effective planning for the fund, that is also very relevant here. As I said earlier, that using the long-term fund for the short-term needs or vice versa, it will definitely lead to amount of disaster, and that is not productive or conducive for the growth of the company. Focusing on quality is imminent. And it's not about having a quality control team. It's about through processes and through the data and numbers, there should be a proper focus on quality. Establishing a process for internal control. That is very important. And again, internal control, it's not a thumb rule for all the companies. It needs to be tweaked as per the requirement and stage of growth of the company. And as a CA, we are rightly equipped to guide the company in this respect. On the digitization, definitely Venkat will cover in the subsequent slides. So its importance is imminent, and we know it pretty well that if the company will not digitize, it will perish over a period of time. One of the statistics I can tell you is that in say 1961, whatever the Fortune 500 companies are there, only 61 companies exist after 50 years when again the survey was done in 2011. It's not the case that those Fortune 500 companies are not smarter or they have a dearth of capital. They just simply stopped doing, or acknowledging the changes in the digital world that is happening. So nowadays, it's not the case that a manufacturing company don't need to digitize. It is very important, and a company either they need to. The certain way of failure is either they will not grow or they stop digitization. Networking for business growth. Just in the previous slide, Venkat covered that how important it is for the promoter to look for the right networking with the right individuals and the trade bodies. Now just think of the next level scenario when, though the promoters gone through a struggle and make the companies at a better decent level. And at this point of time, consider a situation, the founder is struggling with a lot of fund crunch. At the same time, demand is there. He's running all the way around for 24/7. And at the same time, he will not able to draw any salary because all the money is stuck in working capital or because of inefficient production, some or other breakdown is happening. And it is a situation where he believes and actually the business is in the crisis mode. So what will happen in this situation? Whatever the good business company was doing, whatever the best of the product the company was manufacturing before, because of the quality issues, the orders are going to the competition. So what will happen? The company will have an ideal capacity. In that case, definitely there will be a reputation loss for the company because the product and services are not seen as innovative and high quality. And if the company will not able to deliver the product or orders are going to the competition, it will not able to serve its lenders or fulfill its debt commitments. And there are certain shortcuts definitely will be taken by the promoters. And at the end of the day, if fund is not managed properly, the company will face an inefficient working capital. Working capital will not be sufficient, or at the same time, the money gets stuck either in case of debtors or in case of manufacturing or trading, it can be stuck in the inventory. And the worst is the case that their creditors will come and take the money first, and the debtors will not come back and pay the money. And ultimately, the founders and the company sandwiched between their customers and the vendors. Because of all the fund crunches, the company may start defaulting on the statutory dues. I have a lot of examples wherein the companies, because of their short-term needs, they opt for paying the vendors first, then paying the statutory dues. And at the end of the day, they pay heavily in their penalty and interest. At the same time, there are qualifications in their financials. And when they go for the next fundraise, definitely they got a huge beating in their valuation as well. So it's more of a penny wise, pound foolish. So definitely these risks of not paying the statutory dues needs to be highlighted to the founders. Unsustainable interest cost because of default in statutory dues, inefficient working capital management, not adhering to the SLA given in the debt commitments. The interest cost will be unbearable. And the low profitability add on to the woes because the company will not able to raise further capital. Because when all the issues will come, the employees will not see their long-term career in the company, and they will also start leaving, or there can be a lot of HR issues or industrial relation issues faced by the company. And the right solution in these scenarios, this may happen because whatsoever reason, but definitely there are a lot of solutions in this scenario as well. What are the solutions? It's very imminent and important for the consultant to do the SWOT analysis on the company. And again, go to the core of the problem and see that what can be done in this situation. It could be the situation that whatever the unproductive assets of the company are there, unproductive manufacturing line or service line of the company is there, it can be spinned off. Or it could be possible that to plan and implement any debt payment strategy, renegotiate with the bank, or recast the business so that the company can generate more and more cash business. I can give you the example of company Flatbed. So this company deals. The company provides, sandals and slippers for the adult men and women. So what happened when largely pre-COVID, the company was dealing with the offline business model. It was selling its product to brick and mortar companies. And once the COVID hit, it was a huge challenge for the company because most of the shops are closed. And the company was facing the cash challenges. In that case, the company completely changed its business model and started selling in an e-com portals. And at the same time, it changed its product line as well. It started selling slippers which can be worn at home, and it's a quite trendy slippers. And the company sales upswing in last 1.5 years. So basically focusing on the cash generating product and services or remodeling their distribution strategy really helps. Engaging with the right consultant and look for the business solution versus quick fix measures. Quick fix measures is largely the jugaad services that will not help for the company. If it needs to survive, it needs to survive in the long run through the right advices. Suppose nothing works out for the company and it is becoming a dead end. Most of the capital of the company got eroded. The debt default is in such a way that the creditors and the vendors are initiating the bankruptcy case against the company. It could be the case that the product quality suffers so much that it is not possible for the company to again regain the market share, or there's no second line to carry on. And this second line to carry on largely means that for many of the medium, small, and micro level enterprises, the founders started the business and the next line of business, next line of generation are not available to carry forward with the business. They are either in job or they are doing some other work, and there is no one in sight as such. So what to do in such cases? And market shares are shrinking due to competition or cheaper imports other than external environmental change. So all these reasons are good enough reason that a founder need to relook into the strategy and see what to do next. And in those cases, what are the effective business strategy? And as a consultant, it is important for us to guide the company on any of the upcoming merger or restructuring, or selling or having of the unproductive business line. In case some breakdown in the business, business is required to be done. It also needs to be done, and it is done with the intent to extract the maximum value out of it. If some plant need to be shut down, it needs to be shut down. The hard call needs to be made. It needs to be made immediately rather than deferred over a period of time. And you will see in most of the cases, there are emotional attachment of the founders. And definitely when you are going as a consultant, you will see it in more objective way rather than just seeing it more from the emotional quotient. It could be one of the solution could be temporary leasing out the business to at a zero cost. At least it will cut the cost to some extent. So there can be a lot of solution, and it is just inclusive numbers. There can be lot and other solution may come up depending upon a particular situation and particular case in hand. So on top of it, like at each and every stage, whether at an inception stage or a late stage, there are a bunch of benefits available from the government side as well. Like in case of credit and refinance scheme is available with the bankers. Ease of doing business infrastructure is available. You will see that bunch of facilities are available. Only thing is that founders need to reach out for the right help. They need to go to their long contacts rather than relying on their short contacts. Now, actually, there are more and more things needs to be done on the MSME side. Venkat, can you cover the digital transformation part?
Yeah, sure. Just want to add one point to this entire Abhimanyu Chakravyuh story that you heard. Many times when we talk to MSMEs, they will always take credit for their growth. When they did well, it is because of the founder. It is because he put in hard work. Okay, he put in 24 hours of work, 7 days he has struggled, and that is how the success has come. But when it comes to the failures, you will find it very rare that the founder actually accepts that the failure is the MSME has not really done well because of their failures. They will always blame environment, competition, lack of ethics, all kinds of things. When they are talking about the failures or things that it could not really succeed. If there is one thing that I would want to take CS take as a lesson by the CS who have attended this, you saw 4 slides. In each of them, there were specific business strategies. And when you go to the next slide, we are talking about when those business strategies were not adopted in the previous stage, how the business is actually struggling when it goes to the next stage. Most of the time, the reality of MSMEs is that they have not done the right things in the previous stage, and that is why they are struggling today. Now, this understanding is when you start seeing many MSMEs one after another over a very small short period of time, you very quickly understand this. But for an individual MSME founder or someone who has been a second generation businessman also, it is not so obvious. In their mind, this question is always there: why my business is still struggling? I am putting so much of effort. Okay, so apart from the kind of not adopting the right strategies at the right time, and sometimes it is also, as Deepak rightly pointed out, restricting himself to the short contacts and really not taking the long contacts route at the early stage. There is another factor which comes in, very important one, already mentioned, but we would want to cover it in detail, which is about the digital mindset that the founder needs to have to survive in the current environment. What is this digital story, digital mindset? Across MSMEs, when you see the ones who, despite the situation in their particular sector, they are still doing well, they are still thriving, and you try to understand why they are successful, the common threads that come across are that these guys, these teams have successfully moved from a mostly manual, offline mode of doing things, and even thinking in terms of even their strategies, what they were adopting. These guys have moved more into newer way of doing things, newer way of even thinking, a newer way of running their enterprise, and that is where their success comes from. There will be many factors, but you will realize that when you meet many of them, the common factor underlying their success is these guys have been able to get in what we call as digital mindset. What is this digital mindset? Reality of any enterprise today is that there are rapid changes in technology in irrespective of sector you are operating, you are facing. There are newer technologies that somebody your neighbor has adopted, or your competitor in another city has adopted. You have to adopt very soon, otherwise no one is going to buy your product. There is a manner of doing business itself has shifted. The transactions are a lot more digital. Transactions are a lot more handled in the communication modes, which are not the way they were being done in the past. First of all, the pace of transaction itself has gone much faster. Earlier, let us say a turnaround of you can raise your purchase order slowly. You can raise your invoices also at your own pace, and vendor the customer also will pardon many of your delays in terms of giving him a date and actually delivering the product later. Mistakes that you make in invoices are accepted. Today, these things are taken as baseline. You should be able to produce as good or even faster than your competitor and meet the customer requirements. Look at what is happening on the quick commerce. People are talking about 10 minutes grocery delivery. You think of a product, now the next minute the product is going to be in front of you. That's the newer models that people are coming up with. Now, we are not saying that in B2B businesses you are going to do a 10-minute delivery, but the point is your entire way of doing things need to be such that you cannot be talking in terms of earlier past successes. In the past, you did run a company delivering your products in 15 days to your customers. Today, it is not going to work because someone is actually delivering them in 4 days. This shift in the manner of doing business is something that many MSMEs do not capture very quickly. By the time they realize, actually, a lot of water has already flown under the bridge. Data management. Many MSMEs don't even understand what is data. For them, what they see is what they manage. So they go into the shop floor, they see some problem, they manage that problem. Then they see some customer complaining, then they manage the customer issue. Then there is a large return of consignment coming back from several customers. Then they realize, okay, there is some quality issue, we need to do something about it. So this is management by reaction. This is not data management. In a data management scenario, you are not waiting for the actual event to come and hit you. You develop a way of running your processes that the data tells you that things are going wrong as things happen. To what extent your management is virtual and it is real time, that will determine your success rate in future. And your processes need to be modernized. You cannot be running the same factory which your father put up, and he definitely ran it very well. You want to run with the same factory with zero depreciation cost, because you believe my zero depreciation cost is my great advantage. Yes, it adds a certain amount of an advantage in terms of a cost line. Depreciation line is not coming in. But the same old technology may be leading to a lot of quality issues. Your utilization of products may not be most efficient. So there could be a lot of efficiency losses. And you may be even using a lot more labor and other elements to make the product. So at the overall balancing, you're not really modernizing a process. You may be losing a lot of business, which many times because of the mindset issue, the founders don't even want to face. They don't even want to think about it. This is what we see in the when we discuss with MSMEs the real issues that they are facing. So what's happening is that they are always lost in operational hurdle. You talk to the founder, he's extremely busy. He meets the chartered accountant once in 3 months because he's extremely busy. He doesn't have time for the CA. The reality is that if he actually heard the advice of a good CA, possibly, he could have been benefited by the advice that the right advice the CA could have given. This is the changing all of this into more modern way of doing things is what we call by digital mindset. So external environment, what is happening? See, speed and nimbleness to market and external environment is very, very important. Now, many CS don't need to deal it with actual practice, because you deal with numbers, you deal with the reports and data. You are not seeing the kind of an impact the market has had on the operations of the customer. You may be aware of it, but very indirectly. There will be no measurements or there will be no ready data to actually show this. But if you go deep into what has happened, what is happening in the sector, and understand with the founder, not in terms of finance language, but into the business language, you will realize that many times the nimbleness, absence of nimbleness of the MSME is the reason for the mess that the currently MSME is facing. Is the answer straightforward? Just the guy gets this understanding and knowledge, and so he changes. It's not so simple. You may be knowledgeable, you might have understood, so you might have become aware, but solving this problem at this point of time, where already a lot of time has been lost, may require actions at multiple levels. You may require organizational interference, intervention. You may require finance to come in. You need different kind of technological development to be done. You may need to suddenly overnight change your product line and to figure out something to be done. All of this may need to be done. Impact of COVID is still huge on MSMEs. Many of them are still struggling with the working capital disruption that happened at that point of time, and still struggling to just repay the loans that they took. And a lot of them actually even closed down. Fierce competition and no level playing field. Level playing field is an oxymoron in business. In business, the size gives you an advantage, gives you a disadvantage. Large size gives you some advantages, it gives some disadvantages. Small size gives you an advantage and gives a disadvantage. So no, you can't expect government or environment to create a level playing field. You have to play to your strengths. You have to create your ability. There will be always a David versus Goliath situation. Now, how do you really win in that situation is left to the MSME. And today's world, those abilities come through adopting digital mindset. Product has become commoditized. We explained this actually. So the only way you can actually survive is by creating volumes actually, because commoditized product means very very low margins. Those low margins can only be justified with the huge volumes, so that you can manage your overhead expenses. Move towards your cashless economy. This is something that is very very prevalent in most of the metros. Other tier 2 cities and tier 3 cities already the changes, winds are changing. What does it mean? It means you need to be ready to be digitized. Your information is going to be digitized, it's going to be visible, it's going to be challenges. Those challenges will come in. You need to figure out, it is not simply about not having two sets of accounts. It is not that okay, now you start really depending on you on one set of accounts. It is also about understanding your business in terms of even beyond the revenue line, in terms of how customers are acquired, what is the cost of acquisition of a customer, why exactly, what is the kind of margin you are actually making at each product level. There is a lot more data that can come in, provided first of all you capture the data properly. Cashless economy also means transactions are digitized. So a lot of transactions, whether you like it or not, digitized and is available. Are you able to use it to your strength? If you are not able to use it to your strength, it becomes your weakness. Inability to foster long-term business with the larger players. How do you really build those relationships with the larger players? It is not easy for an MSME to develop that. And that leads to a lot of challenges for the MSME. And then capital constraints. We talked about this. Investors prefer modern businesses. They may, if you are as a chartered accountant, suppose you get two options. One is a business that has deployed latest technologies, seem to be people with a lot more knowledge and definitely with a lot more skill sets are sitting there, versus that there is one old school kind of a business with in some god-forsaken place they have a manufacturing, and that factory has never been modernized. Both of them are offering you a same return on investment if you have to put in money. The natural tendency of the most of chartered accountants and most of the investors is to invest in the more modern business, because all said and done, at the end of the day, a more modern business is more likely to survive in the longer run. Next. So what is required then is a renewed mindset. We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. So many MSMEs do not understand this. See, they are facing problems, they are seeing the impact of those problems, but they are not able to recognize that their old school mindset, old way of doing things, they are not ready to change, and that is actually causing a bigger problem for them rather than their only lack of finance or lack of people as a problem. So this is a very important, very interesting observation, and this is something that a lot of people refer to. It's an important lesson also as a chartered accountant. A lot of us are actually advisors, we are problem solvers. What is important is to, when a problem is presented to you, you need to go beyond the problem that is presented, understand the underlying issues, and then identify the solution. But if you're going at the level of the problem and try to give a solution, your solution is going to be short term. Solution may not be deep, and hence it is not really going to survive, ensure the survival of the organization. So digital transformation today is it is not an option, it is a necessity. Now, digital transformation doesn't mean that you have to bring in the latest ERP available in the market and implement, because many people mind digital transformation means ERP implementation. It is not that. Digital transformation means in every area of your business, seeing what is today more relevant, more prevalent practice, and bring that in and see how you can take advantage of that. Look at every opportunity in the modern economy as an opportunity. A social media, an opportunity. A digital marketing, an opportunity. A e-commerce platform, it's an opportunity. Now, if many MSMEs will think all of them as the problems or challenges, they are not looking at the opportunity. In a digital transformation implementation methodology, what happens? You look at all of them as as opportunities and how this organization can take advantage of it. Maybe all of them are not going to do it in one shot. You may do it in over a period of time. But there is a sequence, but all of them are seen as opportunities for the business to really grow. You have to move towards cashless economy. You have to build a robust team and figure out how are you going to retain talent. Not easy. I mean, we have seen this challenge, again and again in smaller companies. It is not easy for them to retain talent. They end up becoming training institutions. They get people, they train people, and after some the training is done, the talent runs away. Now, don't look at it as a challenge. Look at it as, why they go away. What is that I can do to actually retain? So what you have not done in the past is an opportunity for you to really build now so that you are able to retain talent in future. That's the change in the mindset that has to come in. Business enabler versus cost centers. The businesses need to start looking at CAs or other consultants who will come in as not as costs in P&L. Instead, they have to look at them as business enablers. Coin has two sides. It also means that the professional who goes in is not becoming only a cost line. He has to give the business insights. He has to help the business to implement things. Then only you will become a business enabler. But the downside for an MSME is that if they don't look for business enablers and bring them in, the opportunity that comes with the latest thinking that is prevalent for the particular business, whether it could be in a technology, it could be legal, it could be regulatory, it could be finance, it could be tax. In every one of them, they lose out because they don't go to the right kind of people. Instead, they go to their local available resources whose limitation is they can only understand what has happened in the past. And hence, they are rightfully called as cost centers. And the last part is that viewing changing technology as a boon. Many of us get scared. And this is even applicable to chartered accountants, I would say. If you are a younger chartered accountant, most probably you have grown up with technology. So technology is part of life for the younger CAs. But the older CAs, for them, technology is a threat because it threatens the way of they have run their operations in the past. The digital mindset requires, irrespective of your age, you could be above 50, above 60, above 70, it doesn't really matter. Do you see technology as a boon or as a bane? That will make a huge difference in the way you approach today's coexistence with the rest of the profession, the coexistence with the businesses, and ultimately contributing to those businesses to grow. So there is a process to follow. Actually, there is internally, how do you transform? Externally, the issues we understand. First of all, it starts with thinking differently, and this is exactly area where a chartered accountant needs to help. Because it doesn't mean that MSME guy is going to wake up one day morning, gets up on the other side of the bed and starts thinking differently. It requires right kind of an inputs to come to that MSME team. So they have to strategize. They have to think in terms of strategies. And strategies are not only business strategies; they are functional strategies. It could be an HR strategy, it could be a technology strategy, it could be a product strategy, it could be a marketing strategy. You have to build those strategies in order to take your business to the next level. You should be ready to take calculated risk. You should be ready to make decisions. You have seen so many MSMEs lost in debating. Months together they will debate, they don't take decisions. In the meantime, the competition has already gone ahead. Data-driven approach and assess the team. You can bring in the latest technologies. You can think of strategies, but you have the team to implement. If you don't have the team, build the team. Or else, get the right kind of outsourced teams or professionals who are running those highest level of skill sets as an outsourced arrangement. Take from them, but build that capability, because without that you can't change. Then identify gaps, critical understanding of internal and external challenges. You need to do a SWOT analysis. You have to understand short-term and long-term fund gaps, and don't mix them just because something is available. You have some availability of short long-term funds, and then convert all the short-term funds, paint them with a different color and show them as a long-term fund requirement and take the funds. This is the biggest mistake people can make. You have to take short-term funds for short-term requirement, long-term fund for long-term requirement. That is the only way to sustain long-term financial capabilities of a firm. Sorry. Then bring in the required talent. We talked about the talent separately already. Then, after you have identified the gaps, respond appropriately. Once you have built all of them, embrace digital transformation, create a unique market position for yourself, and build a brand, build a collaborative approach. We talked about those long contacts, right? All of them will help you to build. They're not going to be easy to build. It's not that today I can give you one link where all these long-term contacts for a particular client of yours is readily available. It is not. Okay, you need to do a lot of work around it, but the awareness is the beginning of the journey for you, and even for the MSME founder. You have to, at the end of the day, networking is the key in the current economic environment. So what is the assisted transformation? What we are saying is that there is a lot of assistance available. What we have seen in the previous slide is internally what the MSME needs to do. But there is an assistance available from the external world. What are these? Common schemes and aids, trade and industry association, and expert services like CAs, non-traditional. I'm not talking about accounting and taxation here. We are talking about really helping them on the finance strategy, helping them on the larger business strategy, working with the founders to figure out ways to actually to completely so far never thought of kind of ideas to take the business out of the current set of problems. That is where a professional can actually help you. So these are the assisted transformation the opportunities that are available. But for that, the founder needs to think he should not think every one of these as a cost center. You talk to a typical MSME founder, he will say, government, no. You know, those schemes, no. Yeah, you figure out, you try and spend time, nothing comes out of it. You apply, no reply. So I don't want to go to government. Industry association, this is all waste of time. You know, what happens in the industry association? Some people come and give bhashan and give speech and then go away. This is not going to really of any use. Expert services, according to the typical MSME guys, most of the professionals who come in, whether it could be a lawyer, tax guy, CA, everybody is a cost line. So the only discussion is about what is the minimum cost where you can actually do a service. There is a business saying, you offer peanuts, you will get monkeys, which many times MSMEs don't understand. You go with the budget, say I have a 5,000 rupees budget and I need the best of the CS services. They are not going to be available. So you will end up then getting the kind of local half-baked accounting professional who is there available. Only he will do, and he can only do so much. So this approach of that I need the right kind of partners in progress is most critical in order to even to avail these benefits. Then setting conservative mindset. Many founders need to get out of the conservative mindset and say that if I take the right steps and I take an aggressive stand, the rest of the business environment will help me in growing. That attitude is most important. And MSME's ecosystem is much more evolved. That is the whole. Today we covered a lot of those ecosystem elements today, including, let us say, the CA fraternity as an enabler to this setup. So CA's role in MSME, these are the typical activities that CA can do beyond accounting and taxation. So raising funds, due diligence, investment decisions, financing decisions. There are today firms which provide CFO services, cash management, working capital management, inventory management. These are all becoming specialized services today, which a CA can actually offer to an MSME, depending on the need of that particular MSME. Risk management, compliance assistance. It is not simply compliance assistance in the sense, not simply filing of a return after all the data has moved in. When we talk about compliance assistance, here we are saying, how do you really help the company to develop the processes by which all those compliances are happening automatically month on month without delays and without any misses happening despite the best attempts. Legal regulatory work. Regulatory today is an area by itself. There are so many professionals who are developing their expertise, their practice and the kind of consulting they do is around the regulatory. So that because the environment is very complex in many sectors. Adopting digital tools, ERP implementation, integrating business functions and processes, and then digital transformation. All of these are services that a CA can today render. So what is a CA? Then how does a CA actually get ready for this? Discover and solve new problems. Stop looking at the old problems and trying to solve in the old ways. Data-driven approach. How data-driven you are when you are going to a client and a client comes to you and you are talking to a client. Do you really look at all the data and ask for more data and then start advising, or you want to start giving advice based on whatever little information the client has given? The second approach is not really going to make you an enabler. Adopting new technologies in your own practice, in your own daily life. To what extent you yourself are a technology driven person? Only then you will be able to see technology as an enabler and you will be able to advise your clients and keep pace with the transformational trends. The trends that are taking place in the world today in every area is so huge. I mean, there has never been a point of history where these large trends have all occurred simultaneously. It could be blockchain accounting or it could be crypto. It could be the kind of global trends that are taking place or the way the transformation supply chains have transformed across the globe and even within India. Every area that you see today, the things that are changing, they're changing at a rapid pace, and the trends are very, very significant. So, are you really updated on that? Is a question. So, few do's and don'ts here. You have to have a planned and professional approach. You have to embrace new technologies. Invest in digital ecosystem for yourself. Invest in skilled workforce for yourself, your own team. Are you really taking people who can grow along with you into a really cohesive unit of business enablers? Create a unique position in the market for yourself. Should not be one among the many who are providing the very similar services which others are doing. Actively seek growth opportunities for yourself. Focus on quality and R&D and expand your business network. What you should not do, don't remain in a small business. I want to remain a small business. Gut-based decision making is not really the right thing to do. Do you have quality standards for yourself? Are you really working on this? All of these, actually, these do's and don'ts apply to, on the one hand, to MSMEs, on the other hand, to CS who are practicing, or who want to, may not be practicing, but offering consulting services. Inefficient utilization of funds, mistaking investment for cost, and then non-adherence to compliance framework. These are all the don'ts that any businessman should never follow. So with the right mix of these, you will be able to, the MSME should be able to really see success. Scaling the business, going beyond the basics, looking for, do an MSME look at MSME opportunities continuously, or he's only looking at problems every day? Secure capital and build taking capacity. There is a question in the chat group, how to really build quality. There is not enough money. So I have to put money into market. I have to put money into quality. Which one should I do first? The answer is, there is no or here. There is both. You need to put in money into quality. You have to put money into revenue. So how do we then get the capital? The many MSME founders have to get out of the mindset that the capital will either come from bank or from their pockets, and they don't have deep pockets because whatever historical reasons. So only banks will give. Banks will only give very risk-averse capital. Many times, in order to transform, you need risk capital, which will only come through equity. And so you need to think of strategies by which either an investor directly comes and invests, or you figure out a way to combine your business with others. So there is a capital availability for yourself. So it is thinking out of the box. It is not saying, okay, I have limited money, I will invest, so I will throw quality out of the window and start to somehow manufacture and continue. You are only continuing your existing problems into next quarter. Retaining talent through ESOPs and incentives. So ESOPs are not necessarily meant only for startups. In fact, even in the smaller companies, actually, people can think of innovative ways of retaining talent. Partner with the right advisors who will be able to give the right kind of an advice to the MSME. Responding to external environment. Are you only just getting impacted by the external environment, or are you really creating something there? Are you really coming with the product or process which is completely unheard of in the industry? Are you spending your energy towards it? So you have to respond to the external environment in time in order to be ahead in the game. Otherwise, you will be one statistic in the large number of MSMEs who have failed in this country. Digital transformation we discussed, and it is an absolute must. It is not just a option. And with this, we come to the end of our session. Thank you. But we would like to answer the questions that are in the chat box, and any more questions that are there, you can actually raise. Right.
One of the question came, Venkat, is to focus on quality versus cost. How can MSME invest for quality improvement if funds for basic operation is itself difficult? I
answered it.
I want to add on a couple of more things here. That who are more important as a client for a CA, our current client or the future clients? I will say a bird in hand is better than two on a bush. So in case of MSME, if they are serving their customer, it makes sense to focus the quality on their current customers, whatever products they are delivering now, rather than, like thinking about in future what they will do. If the current customers are happy, definitely word of mouth will spread much faster. Both in case of quality versus cost, both are important. But at the same time, the quality should not be compromised for the cost. One more question came that how can MSME manage the threats given that their capital resources and operations are very limited?
I think we answered in the second part of it. This is about digital mindset. It is about using their networks and this one much better. So answer is not a single line here. Answer is half the presentation that you made today.
Precisely, yes. One more question came, and actually this question came in other sessions as well. How to obtain directory of MSMEs registered in India? To be very honest, whenever any of the CA asks me question, or many of the industry people also ask me question that how to get the directory. My first question is what you will do with the directory. Second, how you want to use it. Because at best, there may be certain email IDs, phone numbers, you're not sure that it is completely correctly captured. Okay, let's assume that it is captured correctly. What's the use of it? Again, I'm not going into the depth of how you will utilize it. First, the source is very simple. It is not readily available online that with few clicks, it is completely available. You will get a list of all the 34 lakh MSME entities. You need to reach out to the state level offices of MSMEs, request there, give a formal application, and then you will be able to get it. But again, you need to specify industry and usage, then only you will be able to get it. There is a process for it.
There are data confidentiality requirements here. These are all confidential, this is all private data actually.
So it's available, but actually a person need to go and apply for it, Venkat, at a state level. So it's not readily available. There are certain companies, if you go to internet, you will find some databases which are available. Honestly, I don't have any statistics that how much it will be correct. So if you are taking the data from the third party, take it at your own perils. I'm not sure how much it will be correct. Another question is that can enterprise avail overdraft interest rate exemption? I never seen a case where entire overdraft interest is exempted. Though there are certain months in which the overdraft was given at a, the interest portion is deferred for a longer period of time to pay, and that came under COVID relief scheme. But again, if there are certain challenges, it is more of a one-on-one conversation with the banker, or if you have any NBFCs, say CPE or NABARD, it is more of a debt restructuring a company need to go through. Again, depend upon a particular scheme which is available, it can be taken up, but it depends upon the industry and the location a company is in. I think we answered the questions which are mentioned in the chat box. There are a couple of more questions. One is, many a times some entity mentioned themselves as MSME certified. What does that exactly mean? How to get the entity as MSME certified? MSME certified is nothing but to get the MSME number. So a company need to go and fill up their form in Udyam portal, and they can get themselves registered. If you want to check that a company is registered under MSME or not, you need to go to MSME portal and give the name of the company or CIN number. You will get the data points. One question is, are there any restriction for an existing MSME unit to avail the various benefits and incentives? We answered this question before that it depending upon the industry in which MSME operates, whether certain incentive schemes may be applicable to those industries. Like recently, one of the scheme launched by the central government, wherein any of the women entrepreneur can get certain loan assistance and certain benefits. And again, entrepreneurs from a certain set of scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, they can also get the benefit. Yes, Venkat, go ahead.
See, the answer to this question lies in the type of subsidy and the benefit that we are talking about. There are certain benefits that are available on the age. For example, if you are a new startup, and many MSMEs, when they start, they can be considered the startup under the startup definition. Then there is a certain benefits which are available only during the initial periods of the startup. So if you are an existing MSME and you cross that number of years, that benefit will not be available. But most of the other subsidies and other benefits that are available is to do with whether you fit into the MSME definition or not. It is nothing to do with your age. Hence, most of the benefits are available will be the general answer.
Yep. Sure. In the interest of time, we will able to take 2 more questions at max. So Sambitji, if you can mention 2 more questions, the last 2 questions, that we can take it up now.
In brief, opportunity for CAs in MSME sector. Before going for that one is concluding the session. Kindly in brief, you just mention some opportunities for CAs in MSME sector.
Sure. To start with, definitely, Venkat, I need your help as well to elaborate further. So I believe that in large enterprises, you must have seen the corporate finance, corporate finance function. You will also see treasury function. Just think of it for a small scale enterprises. Do they have such kind of functions available? Answer is no. They have one BCom or maybe semi-qualified person who's doing all the accounting end to end. And for MSME founders, accounting is finance and finance is accounting. And that's the reason many of the MSME suffers. So the opportunity available for the CAs is starting from the virtual CFO, providing virtual CFO services to MSMEs, to the fund management, to working capital management, providing input in their manufacturing process and identifying that where their working capital gets stuck. And on top of it, providing the right advices to the MSME founders that how can they take forward their entire business plan to the next level, business to the next level, through the business plan along with their fund management support. All of those things a CA can do, provided being a practice in CA, they need to ensure that it is not the conflicting interest. If they are certifying certain reports, if they are providing any certification services, in that case, there are certain restrictions as per the CA Institute that needs to be taken care of. Otherwise, it's sky's the limit for the CA to provide support to MSMEs. Anything you want to add on, Venkat?
See, I think the point that we have tried to do today, we have not really come here to say, okay, you can provide a particular cash credit facility in a particular sector. That's not the objective of this course. In fact, one of the comments says it is very general. The point that we are trying to make is that maybe there are a few chartered accountants who are very enlightened and they already understand how to support MSMEs, but large number of chartered accountants today, while they understand the basics of what accounting and taxation support that are needed and may be aware of some of the specific schemes, are not equipped either organizationally or even in terms of the way they approach the entire process in terms of being ready for the MSME sector in the new, in the current environment. That's the point we are trying to make. Hence, what are the kind of an activities that you do? In fact, one of the slides very specifically listed some 15, 16 different things that can be done. If any of you need more information in any of these activities, I would say that you can actually connect to us and we can take you through in detail in terms of more specific to that particular sector or particular question that you have. We will be able to do that, but in the given time limits and the kind of to really transform themselves, what do they need to do, and how CS can actually help
has highlighted the many things in that one is particular in the CA profession as well as the MSME ecosystem. We once again thankful to both of you, Sir CA Venkatesh Bhatt and CA Deepak Gupta, for this session. We are thankful to the participants of this virtual CP meeting, and we expect many more sessions from both of you in near future. Thank you to all. With this, we conclude the session.
Thank you for all the participants.
Thank you.